What's up, my fellow YouTubies? Welcome back to the channel of Mike the Great Studios. So, I actually wanted to talk about something pretty big that I picked up from Disney. So, a couple of days ago, Disney had officially confirmed that they are working on Toy Story 5, Frozen 3, and Zootopia 2. Now, I actually had found some articles around on Game Rant that kind of simplified the whole thing that just went on of how this stuff ended up being confirmed. This is just one little short draft that I found from Game Rant. So apparently, Iger returned as Disney CEO following Bob Chapek's exit in November of 2022. Sorry if I pronounced the names wrong. Since his return, he is aimed to return to the company to its pre-pandemic days. Not even Disney has been immune to the effects of the pandemic. During Chapek's tenure of 2020 to 2022, the company experienced several downturns. Unfortunately, this has resulted in layoffs for the company and several other problems. Now, during an earnings call, Iger hinted an attempt to regain the success it enjoyed during his previous tenure. Today, I am so pleased to announce that we have sequels in the works from our animation studios to some of our popular franchises: Toy Story, Frozen, and Zootopia, Iger said. We'll have more to share about these productions soon, but this is a great example of how we are leaning into our unrivaled brands and franchises. Okay, so I actually wasn't really familiar with the previous CEO of Disney. I believe his name is... It was something Iger. I forgot his first name. But I'll say during the pandemic, Disney hasn't put out too much bad content. I'll say this for starters. So I believe it was about somewhere 5-ish or 4-ish years ago when Disney Plus was first put out, when they had first put out their streaming service. And I think the last movie that they released in the theater before the pandemic was Frozen 2, which actually overperformed. I believe it overperformed the first Frozen in the box office. During the pandemic time from 2020 to 2022, a lot of Disney's movies have actually just been released on their streaming service because a lot of people weren't able to go to the movies. And some of the stuff that they put out was pretty much kind of, in my opinion, just cash grabs, just in ways to earn a lot of money so that their company can just keep growing. I believe, what was that Disney movie that they put out? They had put out, Pixar had actually also put out a couple of movies their own that were released on the streaming service. There was Soul, and then there was obviously Luca, and which are okay movies. I actually still, up to this year, it's been almost a year and I still haven't watched Turning Red. Might be a problem. But throughout that pandemic year, those first couple of years, Disney was pretty much just putting out content on their streaming services, and that counts a lot towards the Marvel Cinematic Universe, since they had made up to 10 Disney Plus TV shows, and not all of them are pretty well watchable. Some of them I still haven't even finished. So in the last 2 to 3 years, I feel like Disney has kind of been underperforming in the box office. And last year, the year before that, I think that they still had a pretty good year. They had Raya and the Last Dragon and Encanto, two pretty great movies, to come off, to building up to Disney's 60th animated movie. And then I think they kind of had a pretty bad year last year, a little in my mind. Still, two of those movies I haven't seen, but I'm pretty sure Strange World really underperformed at the box office by quite a lot, counted as a huge box office failure. And then I am aware that there are a lot of people that were pretty disappointed with Lightyear. And I've actually heard from a couple of others on the internet that Turning Red had quite a few issues. It might have been a little controversial. I still need to watch that one, obviously. But Iger returning might actually really change things for Disney going up, because Disney has had that, even up to 100 years, Disney has always had that back and forth, up and down turn over 10 years of whether their movies are good and whether their movies are bad. I can even make a video in the future ranking all the Disney animated movie eras just to show you what I'm talking about. But I think that these are pretty great pretty great announcements coming up. Back to what I'm actually talking about for this video. Yeah, these are I'm actually down for both. I'll say this: Frozen 2 and Zootopia, Frozen 3 and Zootopia 2 are probably the ones that I have the most excitement for. And probably will really do great for Disney as a whole. I mean, Frozen, I'm pretty sure, not pretty sure, Frozen, the original one, is actually the highest grossing animated movie of all time. And I'm pretty sure that the second one actually overperformed it at the box office. Which, that means that Frozen might be the most successful Disney franchise of them all. So, Frozen 3 might really change things for them, like, going up towards that point. And might make for a great close to the Frozen trilogy. So, Frozen 3 I might have the most excitement for. I'm pretty sure all I can say for Zootopia 2 is that I feel like it's actually a little late in the game that they have finally announced this, because I think it was actually 6 years, about 7 years, I think. 7 years since I saw Zootopia 2 in the original Zootopia in the theater, which was back in 2016. Which I never actually hoped for a sequel, but I mean, I think going up to this point in time, announcing it 7 years later might be a little late in the game. That'll be a 10-year gap between Zootopia and that one. But I mean, I guess that's the usual thing for Disney. I mean, a lot of Pixar sequels have been released over 10 years later. But the Zootopia one, I'm actually the most interesting on how they're going to continue that concept, because all that we have so far is Zootopia, the original one, and then Zootopia Plus, which I actually also haven't watched. Another thing which Disney has been putting a lot too much content on Disney Plus. But that should bring out my anticipation the most, is just what are they going to do in Zootopia 2? What other kind of police spy investigation or like little detective mystery thing are they going to do inside of this franchise? That'll be pretty interesting, and it'll be interesting seeing that as an adult also. So Frozen 3, Zootopia 2, those two announcements really have my excitement. There aren't a lot of great animated sequels in Disney, at least I think. The one I'm the most skeptical going into is Toy Story 5. Now, Toy Story is actually my favorite animated movie franchise of all time. The original Toy Story is actually my favorite animated movie of all time. And I feel like each couple of years, it feels like they've been trying to bring the Toy Story franchise to its natural conclusion. In fact, it already feels like the Toy Story franchise has been concluded. And that goes way back, even back when Toy Story 3 came out. That's when 13 years ago, actually. 13 years since I saw Toy Story 3 in the theater. My God, where did the time go? I actually have great memories of walking into the theater, my mom surprising me. We were going to see it at a mall, and then she had surprised me with us walking into the theater to see Toy Story 3. 13 years ago that happened. My God, where did the time go? Anyway, so Toy Story 3 actually, in my mind, seemed like the big conclusion to the Toy Story franchise already. So, and I know that there's some people saying that probably Toy Story 4 didn't need to exist, which somewhat seems true, but considering that I was a fan, have such nostalgia for the franchise, like, I was still pretty excited. I had a lot of anticipation going into Toy Story 4. But then when I saw the movie, I feel like, I mean, even watching it, the more I've grown on it over the last 4 years, it feels like it really dumbs down my expectations for going into the Toy Story franchise. You can even look at, I even did a ranking a few months ago on all the Toy Story movies. You can look at more that I had to say about Toy Story 4. But seems a little going over the rails, making a fifth movie. I don't know what else more that they can do inside of the franchise. I actually found, and some might think that in my mind it might make sense just going into Buzz and the rest of the gang having their own adventures, since Woody's story has almost kind of come to a close. But then I read, I'm pretty sure Tim Allen actually made a text a couple of days ago on Facebook about him and Woody getting back involved in the game. So how that works specifically with him and Buzz getting involved in an adventure again, it just, I don't know. it just doesn't feel like there's more that they can do with the story. Especially because Toy Story 4, most of Toy Story 4, the biggest criticism I had on it was that it felt like too much of a conclusion. It was made mostly as a conclusion to Woody's story. So if you're gonna make a Toy Story 5 and tie Buzz and Woody and the gang all back together, I'm wondering what exactly can you do with that to make it feel like this movie needs to exist? Like, that's my biggest criticism going into this movie is what's it gonna look like seeing these two together again? Um, and is it going to be satisfying? Because even back 13 years ago, I already thought that Toy Story 3 had made a pretty satisfying conclusion. That's what I loved the most about Toy Story 3 was that it was a great conclusion to this adventure with Andy. So, just thinking, Toy Story 5, that one might seem a little bit too much like a cash grab. I mean, I love the Toy Story franchise, but announcing this one, we might have to give it to some other franchise. I mean, heck, maybe even just I would be okay with a Big Hero 6 sequel instead, or maybe even a Moana sequel or something like that. Even Encanto, I think it would be nice if they had announced the sequel to Encanto or something like that. But Toy Story 5 feels like going a little overboard there, Disney. I mean, we had already gotten Lightyear last year, and a lot of people were a little bit disappointed with the Zurg plot twist and all that. Again, you can look at my ranking, but seems like might need some other ideas, especially considering John Lasseter also, I'm pretty sure, left the project with Disney about yeah, I mean, years ago, even before Toy Story 4 came out. Maybe that's one of the reasons I was not a fan of Toy Story 4 is because John Lasseter wasn't involved in the project, so there were a couple of things that we lost. I mean, it was just Pete Docter and Andrew Stanton, like, just working on their own up to that point, and he was responsible for creating this pack of the animated movies in the 21st century, because he's the one who directed the first two Toy Story movies, and since this talent has been missing for quite a long time, I don't know how they can continue the success of the Toy Story franchise with Toy Story 5. I mean, what's going to happen in Toy Story 5? I mean, I have like a lot of big opinions about this one. But still, you know, I'm a huge Toy Story fan. So, if I see that one, that'll probably be pretty interesting. But Frozen 2 and Zootopia, Frozen 3 and Zootopia 2, I'm a little bit more excited about. Just in my mind, even though I'm a huge Toy Story fan. But all three of these, this is just some pretty big news that Disney is putting out. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about this news, or do you like it? Do you think that these are good ideas for Disney moving forward? And just remember to like and subscribe if you like this video. And I will see you next time.